Welcome everybody to the Mind, Body, and Soul television show coming to you live from our Denver, Colorado studios. I'm your host, Coach Steve Toth, and also the founder of Conscious Evolution Media, going on 10 plus years. And this show, the Mind, Body, and Soul TV, actually been on for more than 8 years. And I want to welcome our guest this evening, Max Corradi. He is joining us from Great Britain. Max is an author as well as a natural medicine practitioner, and I'm sure many other things which we're going to find out about in this brief conscious hour. Welcome to the show, Max.
Thank you for having me on the show, Steve. Thank you, everybody.
Absolutely. I am a great fan of who you are and what you do, so this is going to be very, very interesting and useful to a lot of people, I hope. So the theme for this evening is cures without side effects. So before we really peel this onion back, because there's a lot to talk about, Max, if I took away just not just these couple of titles that I mentioned after your name, which is an author and a natural medicine practitioner, but I took all your titles away, anything that anybody has ever called you, what would you say? Who is really Max Corradi?
Good question. Well, before I got into the business or the passion of alternative medicine, I was a professional musician. So who is Max Corradi? It's many things. Musician, author, alternative medicine practitioners. Can't really pinpoint one thing. An artist. Basically, anything that is creative and benefits people, that's what I'm into. So, yeah, so that's my answer.
Okay, great answer. So how did you get so passionate about natural medicine?
Well, I've always been into alternative medicine since I was a kid. In fact, first time I actually encountered a practitioner of a homeopathy practitioner was when my mother took me. I was about 10 years old. Didn't know much about that, but I think it's well, I've always been sort of into the curing and trying to get herbal medicine and trying to find out different ways that you can sort of heal yourself without taking drugs and stuff. But the real reason why I got into when I actually started studying it is when I came back from a tour. I used to be a musician, professional musician, and I was touring a lot, and I started to suffer problems with sleeping and all sorts of ailments that you develop when you're when you're on tour for months. And so at the end of that, I obviously went to a doctor to see if I could get something. I was actually depressed at the time as well, and the doctor started to prescribe me some heavy duties sleeping pills and all sorts of drugs. And at that point I thought, no, this is not for me. So actually that was the reason why I got into it. And I thought, well, I'd like to study a little bit about this, and then one thing led to another thing, and so on and so forth. So that was basically the main cause, if you could say.
Yeah. So you changed careers basically. Is that what you're saying, Max?
Yes. But at the same time, I started to take on meditation. So I started to go to Buddhist meditation classes and yoga. So that's the other part. That's my other main interest, which is spirituality and Eastern spirituality, Buddhism, Hinduism. So yeah.
Yeah, that's what you're describing is very congruent. And matter of fact, I wouldn't be going on the limb if I said this, but you can always correct me. So when you checked in with yourself and said, and you just said this a couple of minutes ago, that your doctor was going to prescribe to you all these drugs, and you said, "This is not for me." Who is the one that said that?
Well, I think my my real conscious being said that. I mean, obviously,
Yes.
it's like there's part of me that, but there's part of everyone. The essence of every human being is kind of pure. So obviously, if you can tap into that, and then obviously you will want to keep that, and then you will want to get less. Um, uh, well, you will want to try to find a way to get that out, so to emphasize that part of yourself. So, and the only way to do that is to find cures in what nature offers, instead of just like chemicals and stuff.
Wow, what a concept. So would you say that it is fairly accurate that every time a doctor and okay, so the purpose of the show is not to beat up on the industry or on doctors, but
of course not.
But would you say because they have their place
Yeah.
in the world, but would you say that every time somebody is prescribed a medicine, and nowadays I think people over 50 have a minimum of 6 to 10, a dozen, maybe 20 pills that they take every day.
Yeah.
Would you say that each one of those have at least 10 side effects?
Well, yes. I mean, of course. It's just the way it is. I mean, it's not something that I'm inventing. If you check any chemical, any chemicals that you introduce in your body as side effects, even if you don't feel, but it has some kind of effect on your whole system. So it doesn't matter whether it's an aspirin or like a heavy, some heavy drugs. But I'm not saying that one should stop taking these. Actually, I don't advocate that. In fact, it's not really alternative medicine. It's complementary medicine. So I prefer to call it complementary medicine. There is, you can complement your prescriptions with different type of different type of other medicines, which might help you to reduce the doses. So instead of like taking a whole dose of or whatever you need to take, you can reduce that dose. So that's why it can be complementary. They complement each other. So that's why there is no need to choose. You can actually use whatever that you feel comfortable with, but obviously it's normal that chemicals have side effects. I mean, there is no doubt about that.
Well, yeah,
and even some herbal
that's
medicine.
Interesting, and I think you're probably being somewhat politically correct here, which is something that that we do a lot these days. But here's the thing. So I just want to make sure. That we touch on this. So when your doctor was going to prescribe all these medicines for you, your higher self basically said that's not for you. So you did choose.
Yes, I tell you what made me choose that way. It's something very simple. Basically, I felt that these things would change or alter, my essence. I mean, they would change, and I didn't want to change. I wanted to be, I wanted to remain the same. I just wanted to be cured. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
No.
it's like, it's not about changes. It's not about, oh, I'm not happy with what I am and I want to change. I want some drugs that makes me be like something else or someone else. It's not about that. It's about I know that who I am or what I am. It's okay. It's just at the moment I'm going through a rough time. So I just need something. So I just need something that brings me back. Brings me back to my sort of normal state of being, which is healthy.
Right. Right. No, I know exactly what you mean. So
it's different.
So yeah. So
it's a different approach.
Yeah. I mean, there's no question, and I'm just curious, why is it that most people trust their doctor more than they trust themselves? Why is that, man?
Well, it's a good question. Why do they don't trust themselves?
It's all I have, Max, is good questions.
Yeah, you have
You've got the
one good
answers.
questions after another, and I have to come up with good answers as well. Well, I think that people are sort of taught, uh, every day, day in and day out, that they shouldn't trust themselves. That's why they,
How
you
sad,
know,
Max. That's very
yes,
sad.
yes, and I think that's the truth. It's like that they're taught that they should listen to this, listen to that, and at the end they get completely lost. So it's like they go from one doctor says one thing, another says another thing, and you get completely lost. And then, like, what do you do? It's like you have to take decisions, and it's always very difficult because at the end of the day, if you don't trust, that part of yourself that knows, it's very difficult to take decisions, especially when you're not feeling good.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. So here's an example. So I just want to use my own example for a minute, and then we can explore your example a little bit more as well. But my example is, and I've been doing this network for over a decade now, and 2 years ago I developed diabetes too, and
yeah,
and I went like, how can that be? And I was overweight, and I didn't realize. It's kind of funny because I've been doing the spiritual work, like all the things that you were mentioning. I'm finding that a lot of people that we end up interviewing have very similar path in terms of what they had to do to get where they are, and you're no different. But it's kind of interesting that here I am doing this work and putting all this incredible education out to the public, and there's this area of my life, which is my health, that I'm not walking the talk. So
yeah,
2 years ago, at the same time when I found out that I had diabetes too, and I was like 62 pounds overweight, I at the same time started a new show called The New Health Conversation, which was all about um, educating the public about what are the issues in the world today in terms of toxicity in the air, toxicity in the water, toxicity in our food, and where are we as humanity in regards to our health, and what are we going to do about it? What are our options? And doing this show is what basically helped me. It's kind of funny how the universe um, kind of brings us along. But at the same time, when I was diagnosed, I started the show, and during the last 2 years, I cured myself, and I cured myself pretty much through um, a natural process, meaning I got off of sugar, I stopped drinking pop, I got off of fast food, uh, I no longer eat bread, I no longer eat pasta because they all turn into sugar. And 2 years later, and I did go to the doctor, so because I was at a place 2 years ago where I did need medicine because I was out of control. My sugar level was like 450, 460,
yeah.
which is supposed to be around like 120,
That's right.
130. So it is an amazing process, and it did take me 2 years. I don't know what it takes for other people, but I had to do some work. None of this stuff happens all by itself.
No.
People have to make a commitment, and they have to follow some kind of a regimen, which I have. And I put a lot of natural things into my body, actually natural medicine. So I complemented my doctor's medicine just like what you said. The pills were to control my sugar level, but at the same time, I put a lot of minerals and things in my body that my body was missing. I completely transformed. You would not recognize me based on how I feel and how I look 2 years ago. I was like totally out of control. And I didn't even know it. And I'm a conscious, awake human being.
Yeah, yeah. It happens. It happens. It happens to
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah,
It does
it
happen.
does. It
It's
does.
quite common. Yeah, in fact, yeah, what you said is is quite true. I mean, sometimes we are completely unbalanced, and at that, if we go basically, if we reach a level where we are completely unbalanced, then that at that point we really do need to take, at that we need to take medicine. We need to take like normal medicine. Because we just basically went too far, into a situation where we need, something strong, and but then with alternative medicine or complementary medicine, you can slowly reduce the doses of the allopathic medicine until you can get on your feet again. And one sometimes I find people also, there is also some people that are somewhat almost obsessed about alternative medicine, and they just think, oh no, that's it, I'm just gonna just do this. I'm not gonna go to the hospital, and that's also, I think that's also wrong too. I mean, it is just that's like going too far the other
Yes,
side,
yes.
really.
I actually have another example of that, Max. My second ex-wife was so obsessed with natural medicine that she must have had at least I don't know, over 100 bottles in the kitchen cupboards, and she took them all day long.
Yeah,
She had one for everything. You probably know what I'm talking about.
yeah, of
And
course.
the next thing I knew is that we were together for 7 years. Next thing I knew, she was losing weight like crazy, and I didn't realize because I wasn't really familiar with diabetes at all. But she went to her uh, natural medicine. She went to
Prac-
chiropractors and she went to a
Practitioner,
natural
yeah.
medicine practitioner, and they weren't able to diagnose um, her diabetes one. So she actually had diabetes,
Wow. Right.
and
Wow.
I almost lost her
Yeah, of
because
course.
this actually happened in 2000. We were at a party. Remember the year 2000 where
Yeah,
we were
yeah.
supposed to lose electricity and we were supposed to lose the internet. And we were,
Yeah.
the world was going to go into
There was,
complete
yeah, there was
chaos
gonna be
because of the
the end of the
computers.
world. Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember.
and I was at a party, and my ex-wife, we were up in the mountains at my friend's house, and we had lots of people were there, and my ex was sitting next to the fire with her winter coat on. That's how cold
Mm.
she was. And people were coming up to me and saying, dude, there's something wrong with her. You've got to take her to the emergency because this isn't normal. And I said, okay, got it. So I got her in the car. She didn't want to go into emergency, so she had me take her home. So we came home, and basically I saw her for the first time. I got it. I said, oh my God, she's got to be like 100 pounds, right? And there is something definitely off. I don't know what it is. I am not a doctor, but she doesn't have a choice. So I said, we go into emergency. I don't care what you say. If you don't
Yeah,
go, I'm calling 911 anyway, and I'm going to have him take you. So she then agreed, and I basically saved her life. Because
yeah.
when we arrived, she was going to go into a coma, and we probably would have lost her because she was diagnosed with diabetes 1. She was, remember when I said I was at 450? She was
Yeah.
like almost at 600.
Yeah. Well, I mean, diabetes 1 and diabetes 2 are actually two, very different things. I mean, diabetes 1 is an autoimmune disease, and diabetes 2 is just part of a broader pathology, which is the metabolic syndrome. So very, very
Right.
different, very different.
Right.
And with diabetes
Well,
1, you really,
my understanding, and maybe it would be good if you clarify this for our viewers, diabetes 2 is a resistance of um, what's the thing that are that
the
we make.
The insulin.
The insulin. The insulin
Yeah,
that we make, we develop a resistance to it, right?
Yeah.
And diabetes 1 is the situation where our body is not making insulin at all. That's why we have to inject it.
Yes, what we know at the moment, of course, medicine is always updating. So what we know today may be wrong tomorrow.
Science is always updating.
Exactly, science, medicine, everything, But what we know is that well, diabetes 1 is autoimmune disease. So basically, the pancreas is being targeted, and the parts of this organ is being targeted by the immune system. So it's not functioning anymore. So it's autoimmune disease, and if you have that, that's a serious, it's a serious disease. It's a serious pathology. So you need to, you really need to take insulin, and yeah, you can't just get off medication.
You can't apply any natural medicine to that problem. Because
well,
one of your major organ is not functioning.
Yeah, no, I mean, what you can do is to, of course, you can take some type of alternative complementary medicine, and at the same time, you must also follow the prescriptions, and maybe you reduce slightly the doses. So basically, you can dampen the syndrome. You can sort of slow it down, if you know what I mean. If with certain kind of alternative, maybe low dose medicine is this new type of homeopathy, which uses cytokines. It's something that's just come out like 10 years ago. So things like that. But yes, of course. But with the metabolic syndrome, on the other hand, you can do a lot. You can work a lot, with the metabolic syndrome, with all sorts of herbals, homeopathy, different types, homotoxicology. Yeah. So different things, different methods, different situations. You can't just generalize, and each person reacts differently. So very difficult to just say, "Oh, I just take that and that's it."
Yeah, right. So
you can give us some ideas. There are some ideas.
So I'm curious to explore a little bit how you work with people, because I'm familiar with how doctors work with us. They basically give you 9 minutes or less, and you're going to end up with a prescription in the process. So how do you do like an intake? If somebody contacted you, what do you do in terms of getting a pretty good understanding of this human?
Yeah, well, most of the time people that come to me, they have already been to doctors, so they already have an idea what they have. It's not up to me to decide. If they usually come, they have, and especially nowadays, people, they're quite informed. They already been on the internet. They've done examinations, medical examinations. So it's not like maybe in the past, people come and say, "Oh, I don't know what I have." Very rarely people come and say, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with me," or anything like that. People come with a very specific idea. They maybe have some specific problem. Or maybe they've already tried to cure some specific problems, and they're not happy with it. So yeah, when they come to me, obviously it's not 9 minutes. It's usually just an hour consultation, and I just let them speak. Try to let them describe their unease, what's bothering them, and like I said, they usually have some very specific ideas. So, and I try to work with that, try to see if what will be comfortable. Some people are just not comfortable with one type of, for example, there is herbal medicine, nutraceuticals, homeopathy, homotoxicology. So I think it's very important for the person that is happy about, believes and is happy about, what is going to do, like what kind of prescriptions and what kind of work it needs to do with itself. So it depends, but yes, I mean, it's not. I usually try to understand as much as possible, and also something that we haven't spoken about yet. But
well, there's a lot of things we haven't spoken about.
Yeah, But this is very important because it's the first part of my book, and it's like healing using mind, healing using the mind. So, so yeah, in my book Cures Without Side Effects, the first chapter, I describe all a few different types of healing, and basically I emphasize the fact that many, if not all, of our problems come originally from some emotional background, some emotional cause, or recurring thoughts, thoughts and emotions. So it's always good to try to find, if it's possible, what the person is basically somatizing, something that it's something that comes from the way he perceives reality. And it's not very easy, but I think it's very important to do that.
Yeah, well, there's no question in my mind, and I think what's happening, and correct me if I'm off on this, that based on the fact that I find that most people have no idea how to manage their emotions.
Yeah.
And they don't even know why they have the emotion.
Yeah.
But people are basically, in general, are trapped, or what's the word I want to use? Trapped. Well, that's probably a good word. But somehow trapped in this reality that isn't even real. They created it, and it isn't
Exactly.
even real. Yeah. And then what ends up happening is our system. I mean, we are biological machines, computers. It responds, and it begins to break down at some point. Do you find that to be somewhat accurate?
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's not easy. Well, if it was easy, to work with emotions, then there would be a lot of enlightened beings walking around every day,
Yeah.
but there aren't. So, which means that it's very
Yeah.
hard. It's very hard because emotions and thoughts are energy, and we don't know. It's not that we don't know how to work with emotion and thoughts. We just don't know what energy is. We know energy as part of what science tells us. What energy is, like electromagnetic energy, heat and electricity. But that's just physical energy. But we don't know what subtle energy, mind energy,
Mhm.
is. And we
What
don't know, of
about
course.
resonating at certain frequencies? Like,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yeah. Like,
So, but
when people
yeah,
get depressed, they resonate at
the
a very
resonance
low
very low. Yeah. Yeah.
frequency. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way,
Definitely.
what would you recommend? I mean, depression is something that's, I would say that's one of the top probably 10 easily of what we're dealing with. I mean, I would say diabetes, stress, um, toxicity, these things are all up in the top 10.
Definitely, yes. Yes,
Uh,
definitely.
Overweight is a huge problem in the US. I don't know about, I haven't been in England probably, last time I was there probably like 14, 15 years ago.
It's
But
increasing. It's increasing. I'm originally from Italy. I've been living in London for 20 years now, um, but in Europe generally it's not that bad, but it's increasing every year. So every year, like obesity is becoming like a problem. Like it's increasing basically every year. And in the past, you almost never seen, you would never see obese people. Now you actually see them. So yes, maybe it's not as bad as US, but it's becoming like that too.
what
So
about the younger generation? What are you noticing?
yeah, yeah, worse. Yeah,
Mm, mm,
yeah, because of course fast food now is it's one of the main, like young people just eat fast food. They like to go out. And yeah, I mean it's normal. There's not much you can do about that. It's the way society, has been set up. If you don't consciously decide to take a different route, that's the route. That's where everyone's going. That's
yeah,
that's
it's
that's
the
where everyone's
blind
going.
following the blind.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And well, depression, talking about depression, I mean, a friend of mine told me a couple of weeks ago, he was reading this book, um, which basically said that almost 50% of the population in UK has had a mild to severe episode of depression,
Oh,
of
it's always
depressions.
raining for one thing. That's
That's
depressing.
that's true.
The sun is
That
not
is
out.
depressing.
That's
That
depressing.
is that is depressing. That is true. But having said that, I know that yes, but depression
You
is
know,
funny
you can
because
have a choice to move back to Italy. It's a choice, Max.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I spend my summers in Italy, so I get as much sun as I can, like for
Uh,
couple of months a year at least.
I
But
loved it in Italy. I only lived there for a year, but I absolutely loved it. You guys absolutely, the Italians, I think, have the mastery or they have a PhD in how to live life, so that it is not based on stress like here in the U.S. They are there is a flow that I experienced in Italy, and it's not a fast-paced life. It's everybody's just easygoing. People quit at 1, don't go back to work until 4. Stores
yeah,
close, and everything is
well,
fine. Nobody's
it is
upset that
fun.
stores
It
close.
is, yeah, not so much anymore though.
Is it
Maybe
changing?
in the well, yes. I mean, I think maybe in the south
Oh,
it's probably a little bit still like that, but not in the north. But yeah, maybe in the
yeah. I
south.
lived I lived like 60 kilometers south of Rome.
Oh yeah. Well then,
So
yes. I think
yeah,
that yes. Then
I loved it, Max. I absolutely loved it. If I could have stayed in Italy, I would have.
really,
Yeah,
right.
they wouldn't take any immigrants.
Yes. Well, yes, that's always problems with immigrations. Of course, I lived in the States. I lived in Texas when I was 18.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's weird. And I also would have liked to actually, my idea was to move to California because of the
That's one of
sun.
our most conscious states of all.
Yeah, but again, I had the same problem as you had. I couldn't stay,
Not.
visa, I couldn't stay, and I would have,
Uh,
I had to decide what to do, whether,
we have
go back.
Max. We have 15 million people from Mexico that have no problem staying.
I know, I know that, but that is true. That is true, especially in Texas,
And we're
where I
not
was.
doing anything about it. Actually,
Yeah,
we're talking about the president is talking about just giving them some kind of an amnesty or something.
yeah. Well, when I was in Houston at the time. Yes, there were a lot of Mexicans.
Hmm.
It's true. But in any case, yeah, I decided to move back to Europe, and I thought, oh, I'll move to London. So there you go.
Hmm.
Then I got to London and I stayed here. But London it's an hour by plane to Italy, so it's not very far.
Piece of cake.
You
Yeah.
can always go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's okay. And London is a nice place. I mean, I like it. It's quite vibrant and cosmopolitan. I like the variety. All the cultures. You can feel all the cultures. In one place. So you don't need to go anywhere.
Yeah, there's tremendous history. And of course, my biggest complaint about London is the food is terrible.
Yes, but not anymore. That's changing.
Yeah,
That
because
was
I think the Indian cuisine has taken over, and I
the
do
Indian.
love Indian food. So
Yeah, and a lot of Italian. A lot of Italians. Like
yeah,
it's full of pizzeria. It's
yeah.
basically now you hear people talking Italian in supermarkets here. It's like
Uh,
it's
well,
incredible. So many
well,
Italians.
I don't need that stuff anymore. So
Yeah,
oh
I
well.
know you don't eat pasta. You don't eat pizza anymore.
No, no, I don't. It's
Yeah.
not good for me. Uh, and so actually, that's what's kind of interesting. I want to talk about that with you is like because I really feel I'm connected with you. I can tell that you're very awake and very conscious. Is it accurate, Max, for me to say that you now at any moment know what's good for you and what isn't? It's like you have a screen based on knowing who you are and what's good for you. It's not very challenging for you to figure out
Well,
what to do.
not always, but yeah, of course, more and more. Yeah, but not obviously, yeah, not always, but yeah, let's say 80% of the time, I would say. But of course, we're all humans. We all have, problems. As long as we are, in this human world dimension, we'll always have problems. It's like it's the way it is, and the thing is not to get to a place where you don't have problems or illnesses. Impossible. That's impossible. The trick is to know when you
Well,
do have a
never
problem.
say impossible, Max. You never know.
Yeah, but the thing,
People said. I remember when people said that it is impossible that communism is going to go away in Eastern Europe. It is impossible. It's never going to happen.
right? And it didn't.
It happened but it happened in '89. The wall came down, and the Russians changed,
Yeah.
and now it could go back. Who
That's
knows?
right. That's right. Yeah, no, what I was trying to say is that, having a human body, it's just it grows old, and yeah, you can delay it, but it's the way it is. I'm not
Max,
I'm not
I think there's a lot of scientific work that's being done to figure out how to stop this human clock.
Yeah, the aging.
Because there's a reason why we're aging, and people have been working on it for a couple of decades, and I think they're coming up with something that is going to
to delay the aging and
yeah,
yeah.
correct that you know um, instead of living for 80, 90, or 100 years, we could be living for a couple of hundred or even longer.
Yeah, I've seen some programs about that, yes, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, maybe a good idea. I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, I prefer to think of it in a spiritual sense. That, like, of course, I try to keep this body alive and in good condition as much as I can, as long as I can. But I'd like to think that it's not so, it's not an obsession, like, the important thing is to be awake, in your mind, and the body, when you die, you die. We have to also accept that. That's the thing. In the Western world, we just don't accept death anymore. It's finished. We just think death doesn't exist. It's not something that concerns us, but I don't know. I mean, I think it's not like that. I think things come and things go. It's just the flow of energy, So maybe one day we'll die, and it's hard to come into terms with that. But at the end of the day, that's nature, no? It's natural. So
Well, but
if
Max, would you say that I mean we used to live for 40, 50 years, and now we double that, and
yeah, but we double that in one part of the world. I mean, if it's only like in developed countries. I mean, in underdeveloped countries, they still die quite young. So
well,
it's, yes, in Western.
and that's really not what I wanted to highlight. What I wanted to highlight about that is that yes, we now can live until 80, 90, 100 years, but the quality of life is going the other direction.
Yes.
And there's something off about that, because what I'm noticing, and I don't know, the general public doesn't seem to be noticing that. You probably know what a Walgreens is, but we
Yeah.
have one now at
I
every
don't know.
corner, and it's like it snuck in somehow, and people are not even questioning it anymore. It's part of the landscape.
Hmm.
And now they're building them bigger and bigger, and now the last one I saw was 2 levels, 2 stories Walgreens, and I'm going like, oh my God, you don't have enough room for all the drugs?
It's incredible, eh? It's
It's
really,
crazy. It's crazy.
yeah,
There's something terribly off about it
yeah. Well,
for me.
it's business also, no? It's like it, if you look at it that way, it's business. More people get more ill, they live longer, they take more drugs, and they spend more money on that, and more people make money on that, and the whole thing keeps revolving around, So it doesn't surprise me in a way because it's a way for people to make money, and so that's why. I mean, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, people are
Well,
living
I think
longer.
It's terribly off.
Yes,
if,
yes,
if
I
if
agree
we
with you.
come to this planet in order to just make money, there's something terribly off about that.
I know, I
And
know.
that we're willing to do anything. Like I'm having a real issue with how does the CEO, and of course the one that was in power for quite a while at McDonald's was just fired recently. But
Hmm.
there's a new CEO, and how does the new CEO gets up in the morning and looks at himself in the mirror based on what they are putting out in the marketplace? How is that possible?
I think that I would say they think they believe they're doing the right thing. I would say they believe that what they're doing is it's fine. I think. I don't know. I don't think they're just that, they're just
No, no,
that
Max.
ignorant.
I don't think they think it's fine. I think
Do you
that they
think?
no, no, I don't think they think. I think they know that it isn't fine.
Right.
Uh, I think that um, that because and America is very guilty of this, and this is interesting that I say this because um, I came to this country to get away from communism, okay, and I learned that I basically replaced that with a system where our God is money,
Yeah. I
and
think if you
and
live in America, you have that sense. I don't have that
and
sense here so much in Europe, but yes, I remember when I was there. It's totally like that.
yeah, it's totally like that. And if you want to instantly experience it, all you have to do is go to New York. It's instant because that's all anybody cares about in New York is money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think until that transforms, until we transform it, until we make different choices about about life, this system is going to continue to maintain itself because this is how commercial television is built. It's built to support all of this, and
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you ever watch American television.
Not so much.
I
Bits and
can't stand
pieces.
turning it on, dude. You know why? Because every 8 minutes they're selling us drugs.
I know. Yes, that's
And
that's
and
that's the
not
thing
only
that
are they selling us
really
drugs,
strange.
but in between the drug commercial, they're selling us all the garbage, like all the fast foods and
Yeah,
all the Pepsis, the Cokes, and all this stuff.
that's terrible.
That the reason why because we're consuming all of that is why we need the drugs.
Yes, that is terrible. That is terrible. Maybe I have a different. I'm sure I have a different perception because I don't live there. I was there. I lived there, and then I went back and forth a few times, and I remember that now that you're mentioning. But because I don't live there, I don't. I don't have this in front of my face every day. But I can imagine like that's terrible.
But
Like
there
to have
has to
like
be, Max, don't you think there has to be a responsibility on everybody's part in this world that whatever it is that we are engaged in or doing or producing or whatever services that we are creating, it has to do good in the world.
yes.
If it doesn't do good in the world, don't do it.
Yes, I agree with you. But actually, before, I think we misunderstood each other because what I wanted to say before, when you said about this CEO looking himself in the mirror and I said he thinks he's fine, I didn't mean that he thinks he's fine because he thinks he's doing the right thing. I think that he thinks he's fine to do whatever he does. I think
Well,
it's okay to do bad. You know what I
well,
mean? Like
well,
it,
yeah. I
it
mean, he's doing the right thing in terms of looking out for the shareholders' interest,
Yeah.
because that's all they're thinking about. But
Very, very, very limited
what about the
perspective.
product, and what about the number of people that they that they putting this food? I mean, they used to be so proud, 1 billion served. They don't do that anymore. But what kind of damage does this food do in humans? Do we know? Do we even know to this day what's in it? We still don't know.
Yes. Yes, it's terrible.
I guarantee you, Max, that's not real meat. I guarantee you.
Really.
It doesn't even look like real meat. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I remember reading something that famous case. I don't know if you probably read it, like it was a few years ago, of that woman that left a burger in a New York apartment and came back after, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, and it was still intact.
Yeah. Yeah, same thing.
And
did you know that they put
sued.
sugar? They sprinkle sugar on their fries. That's why it's so addictive.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
So
Yes.
making those choices. So the reason I'm bringing this up, it relates to what you do and what we're talking about on the show. So in order for people to do that kind of stuff, the only way I feel, based on what I know, and I know nothing, but based on what I know about my own experience, the only way you could do it is if you are not conscious and not awake. Because then it doesn't matter. You don't care.
Yeah,
you don't care
selfish.
about how it's affecting other people, because that's not important.
Yeah.
See, it's like when somebody tells me, okay, so this kid, this 20-some-year-old kid went into this theater right here in Aurora and killed a dozen people, just shot them. Everybody wants to know why. And I go, I don't need to know why, because I already know why.
Yeah.
The only way he could do it is not being awake and not being conscious. Otherwise, it's impossible. There's no way you could get me to pick up a gun, go to a theater, and start shooting people. It's impossible. I couldn't do it.
Yes. Yes, well, I mean, of course, selfishness, and nowadays, like, people are, especially young people, they feel lost because there's so much information, so much pulling here and pulling there. Their minds is completely scattered, and this is really bad, for especially for young people.
So I wanted to bring it back, Max, into what we talked about at the beginning, which is our air, our water, and our food is full of toxic materials.
Yes.
So since, in essence, what I'm saying, people could read between the lines, we're basically killing ourselves.
Yes. Yes, we are.
And we're and we're not asking the question, why are we doing this? Why is it okay? It's not okay. Why do people live in Los Angeles where the air quality is so bad there's hardly any oxygen left in the air? And they don't make a change, because don't we all have a choice? Could they make a choice to move, like you moved from Italy to London? Couldn't they make a choice to move out of LA and go to, I don't know, Texas? Whatever?
No, because they have to work in Hollywood.
Yeah. Yeah, but is it worth it?
I don't know. For them, maybe it's worth it, but then
they're going to be paying with their lives.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Then things catch up with you,
Right.
They always catch up, like you. Then one day you wake up and you got serious disease, and you think, oh, where did it come from? And of course, you have to look back 20 years,
Yeah.
Started 20 years ago. That's the thing. We're not aware that, like, our actions bring results. And of course, you do something today, it might bring a result in 10 years time. It's because we're not aware. We do things without awareness. That's the thing. We just do things. We just follow, we do whatever, but we're not aware.
One of the biggest issues, Max, I think, is that people are not open. People have, and the reason I'm saying this is because the more people would become open, because I find openness to be the foundation of consciousness. If we're
Definitely.
open, because in order to consider natural medicine, you have to be open. If you've been brainwashed and you bought somebody else's beliefs that the only solution to your illness is to go to your doctor, you're not open. You're closed-minded. You're doing
Yes.
what somebody told you to do.
Close-mindedness is really, really one of the biggest problems, for achieving a healthy life, because you just don't believe. It's like there is this in Zen, in Zen Buddhism, there is always this example of the master just pouring water over in this glass that it's already full, and he keeps pouring, and the student says, "Why you keep pouring the water?" And he says, "Well, this is like your mind, it's just it's just full of informations, and there is more and more and more, and there is no room for anything.
Mm.
Like even if I put more information, there's just no room in it."
Yeah. Max, I say
It's
the mind is a great thing to waste.
Yes. Yes.
So I absolutely love what you do in the world, Max, and I want to acknowledge you for doing what you do, because I believe that natural medicine and finding different types of solutions, and it's also very, very creative. I mean, what you do is really born out of being creative.
Yes.
I can't find anything more important in the world for all of us than to be creative, make the impossible possible.
Absolutely. Yes.
So I definitely support what you're up to. In terms of some of the top maybe 3 or 4 things that you want to share with our viewers, what are some of the things that people could do, habits that they could develop, that you find really, really important from your practice, that would help people to change and to get out of the old way of being and get into this new way of
Mm.
being?
Well, first thing, read a lot. Find informations. Don't just believe what people tells you. Just listen, and then find your informations. Try to find information and compare information, and then make judgments. Make sound judgments according to what you understood. So that's the first thing. First thing is not to follow just blind faith.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so that's one thing. Then on a more practical level, well, one thing that is good is to have a balanced life. If you have a balanced life, you are less prone to have illnesses. So you try to have a balanced life. Don't do too much of anything. So that's the other thing. Don't overemphasize anything. Just a little bit of everything. It's okay. And 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 then of course, like for people that like to do things like more spiritual things, these are very important. Like the spiritual, I think, at least a third, if not half, of our lives should be spiritual, oriented. We should I don't know, if people like to pray, they should do that, or meditation, or whatever. Spiritual life is very important to keep healthy. Absolutely, that's a key point. And then another key point, very important key point, is to not bring harm to other beings, because in the Tibetan tradition, in the Buddhist tradition and Tibetan tradition, they say that your health is measured according to what you've done in past lives and in these lives to other beings. So if you damage other beings, then you just cannot be healthy. It's karma, cause and effect.
Mm.
So you want to be healthy, bring goodness to other beings, help other beings, bring benefit to other beings, and the results of that is that you feel better psychologically, spiritually, and physically as well. And some people, oh, I don't believe this. I don't know if what kind of people believe or not believe, but that's one thing. They can try, and and then on a more physical, purely physical level, then there are a few habits that, of course, sugar, refined sugar, all sorts of sugar is not good. Too much salt is not good. MSM, monosodium glutamate, is not good. Something that they put in, I think in America there is a lot of that corn syrup also, and they use it. Processed food is not so good. Like tap water. I don't know what kind of tap water you have, but better, to drink some really good, good bottled water with a high pH. I don't know if people are familiar with pH, which is the alkaline water, because we're very acidic, like our body. When you have an acidic body, you are prone to illnesses like cancer and all sorts of illnesses. So if you drink high pH water, then or eat vegetables that have a high pH, then alkaline vegetables. So just a few, these are just a few advices that people should remember. But and of course, then they can get their books and get my book and read it. There's lots of information.
Yeah. So I've been a personal development junkie for more than 30 years. So what I learned about that is that yeah, books are great. I have nothing against books. Videos, all of those things are fantastic. But it's just information, and information by itself does not change a darn thing.
No.
People actually have to, it's like, I don't know who said this, like, information is power. Information is not power. What's power is what you do with the information.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, if you don't put it into action, information means nothing.
It makes no difference. It doesn't matter.
Makes absolutely no difference. Absolutely, yeah. Yes, sure. Yeah, but that's the most difficult part. No, people we like to read and then we forget after 1 hour.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So Max, you were absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much for staying up so late. What time is it now in England?
It's almost 3 o'clock.
Oh my God. So thank you for being so dedicated. I really enjoyed being with you. I think you are a very very intelligent, very sharp, very spiritual, and very connected human being. You do a lot of good in life, and I'm sure that you do what I do, which is affecting people one person at a time. That's about all I can do. So
yes,
I want to tell all our viewers that if they were touched, moved, and inspired by anything that Max said or did on the show, or I said or did, continue to come back to consciousevolutionmedia.com and engage in our shows. Keep watching our shows on our YouTube channel. The more you watch them, the more they get up to the top 10 every single month, and the top 10 will have the opportunity to get to public television, which is over 100 million eyeballs. So thank you so much for being with us, Max.
Thank you, Steve, and thank everybody. I want to thank everybody for listening.
Absolutely. And before you go, please give out your contact information or your website.
Yes, the website is called homeobiotherapy.com. That's homeobiotherapy.com. And if basically they type my name on Google or any other search engine, Max Corradi, and books, and they Cure Without Side Effects, that's one book, and Low Dose Medicine, that's another book. They can find all the info there, and also the website. So Amazon sells all the books, and I've got an Amazon page with all the books information as well. So
thank you. Fantastic. Thank you, Max. Have a great evening and a wonderful weekend and a beautiful Easter. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you guys in the network next week. Thanks. Bye.